Okay, good morning. I am sorry that it's been a little bit of time and I'm trying to catch up now. And so I wanted to talk today about the power of teachers, almost the power of teachers over peers and parents. And so I hope that this will strike a nerve with you and just help you to understand how important the relationships that you form with students, and every student, not just a certain group of students, really is. And so I had a student in 10th grade, and she was in my AP Psych class, and not a student that I actually had a very strong relationship with. But I mean, I tried to care about all students. And so we were learning about stereotyping, prejudice, racism, and one of the things that I used was the movie Crash. And so, of course, I never showed full-length movies because it's really not appropriate. So I showed clips, and so I led up to the clip I'm about to show you too, so you get the full effect of this classroom environment and what was going on. And so the movie is about very different people. So you have an Asian female that they're following. You have an Arab male that you're following, or a Muslim male. You have a white cop, a black cop, a African-American producer. They're following a Hispanic male. And so this scene that I'm about to show you is where what had just happened is the Muslim man's convenience store was broken into, and it was not covered under insurance again, while the Hispanic male worked for the lock company that came and changed the locks on his door. So the Muslim deduces that it must be the Hispanic who broke into his home, into his convenience store. And so this is where it leaves off. Excuse me. Whoop. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Daddy's home.
Son, give me my money. What? What money? Pay for my store. Give me my money. Money, stay inside. Elizabeth! Give me my money. Aplácate, stand up. I want my fucking money. Give me the truck. That's not my truck, bro. Elizabeth! Hey, okay? Come on. Hey, I got $50. Hey, $50? You took everything.
Mommy! Mommy, I'm coming. He doesn't have it. That's not what? I have it. He doesn't have professional clothes. Let her stand in the street.
Okay, so I showed this in class because part of what I talked to you guys about before is also drawing emotion out of students. So it's just like PTSD. If somebody feels a strong emotion to something, the memory is so vivid they can't forget it. So my kids are like, oh my gosh. Well, one student is bawling uncontrollably and walks out of my class. And, that's that moment where you're like, did I go too far? I mean, I'm trying to make this a teachable moment, but maybe it was too much. Now, let me say this. I'm going to show you the other part so that you know. What you don't see, and I tell the kids, I stop it right there, and then I let them know afterwards. But I wanted them to feel the emotion of thinking the little girl just got killed because of stereotypes and prejudice. But the Muslim man's daughter actually gave him blank bullets, and he didn't know that. So the little girl isn't harmed at all. So then, once we have a discussion, I show them the little girl's not killed. But before that, I have this student who goes outside, and I go and I sit by her because she is bawling, and I'm thinking, oh God, I hope she didn't have somebody in her family who was shot, and now I've just traumatized her. And I go outside and I say, Jay, what is wrong with you? And she is an African-American student, and she says, that's my life every day. And she's like, it hit me. It hit me. And I was like, what are you talking about? Now, this is an African-American student who is in a school of about 2,000 kids, and all of her friends are white students. And so I thought that's strange because, she surrounds herself with a very diverse group. And she said at the lunch table that students called her like yes master, and just lots of things hit her at that point. We talked about a lot of things, and I looked at her and I said, then those are not your friends. And I went into a whole discussion on race and everything with her. And so years later, so that was in 2010. So in 2014, I'm going to show you up close. Can you see this? Because I saved it. So here's a little post from Jay in 2014, and she has at this point 2 daughters of her own. Now, I think that episode in the hallway was very insignificant. After that, Jay never even really talked to me about it. And so she posted, racism is something that I have experienced my whole life. I can say that because of a very important teacher in my life, I stopped ignoring it and started standing up for myself. She held me as I cried in my high school hallways because of how I was being treated, and every time I encounter racism and make an educated response, I think of her. So thank you, Miss Tiffany Turner Hall, for changing me as a person so that I can be comfortable in my skin and raise my daughters the same way. And so, now this is not to toot my own horn. The reason that I'm reading this is because I didn't even realize this was a significant event in this child's life. And clearly, she, raising her children 4 years after I had her, that moment stuck with her. That is how powerful the moments, the teachable moments we have in class are. And so, I followed this child. She's a Facebook friend, watched her kind of grow up, go through lots of life lessons. And last night she posted something else. And this is why I'm using her as an example, because I want you to understand the power that you have with what you do every day and why your job is the very most important out of any jobs in really the nation. And so last night, so here's another one. Okay, so can you see it? Ooh, ooh. So she posted on Facebook, but she's got a little blog now on WordPress, and I'm just going to read the first paragraph, and I'm going to summarize kind of what the blog says. So Ashley says, which I did not know this, guys. I want you to, again, think of the power of relationships. In my senior year of high school, I was living in my car. I went to school full-time and worked third shift at Waffle House during the week and third shift janitorial on the weekends, having my only day off be Sunday so that I could get sleep. Before any of this happened, I had a high GPA and dreams of going to MIT for engineering. Now, in the next paragraph on the blog, she says, and let me preface this child, and she knows I use her as an example, so I have her permission, but this child passed her AP exam. She got college credit, okay? So she says in the next paragraph, I took the SAT, I got a low score, so I knew I wasn't a college student. I wasn't meant for college. She already took a college class. She was already successful. My point in sharing this is how one score can devastate a child's life, change the course of who they are, their dreams, where they end up in life. The reason she posted this last night is because she's back to that same thing. She's lost everything again. And I imagine working hard in advanced classes, and she was a child who she had to work. It didn't come naturally to her. And working third shift and living out of her car and all of that stress. Do you really think she was prepared to take the SAT? Do you really think the SAT measured what she can do in life? It didn't. However, that defined her. She allowed it to define her. And so what I say to you is when students are given grades or earn grades, make sure they're a true assessment of what that child really knows and can do, and make sure that that's not the only way that they define themselves, because it can be devastating to students. The power that you have when caring about kids and working to see all of them be successful is tremendous, guys. It's tremendous. So make an effort every day to make sure that you're finding out when Johnny comes in and puts his head on the desk and it's not like him. Find out why. Because those moments like this, I had no idea. I had no idea. Actually, I thought Jay hated me. I thought she hated my class. And turns out I had a huge impact on her life. Who knew? You know, because sometimes I'm a little annoying. But anyways, and I can be really high. I hold really high expectations. I go really fast sometimes in life, you know, just like my little brain. But again, please, please, please care every day about every student. And don't let them be defined by